I'd like to introduce you to our executive director since 2007, Dana Hooper. Dana Hooper has been an executive director of Life Services Alternatives, or LSA, for the past 16 years. But his journey started many years ago when his son Brent was diagnosed with an intellectual disability. Over the years, he has become involved in many areas of the IDD world. He became a leader in our community, working with government and nonprofits such as Branch Services, where he's a current board member, and Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired, where he's a past board member, and the State Department of Developmental Services and the San Andreas Regional Center, where he's a past board president. It's also where his son currently is a client in supported living, where Brent is a client in supported living. It also led him to his leadership role at LSA, where he can make a difference every day in the lives of the individuals that LSA serves. I'm very excited to introduce you to Dana Hooper. Dana, thanks for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Adia, and I'm very glad to be here. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce you to Anna Wang. Anna is the co-founder and vice president of Friends of Children with Special Needs, also known as FCSN, an organization founded over 28 years ago by Asian parents of children with developmental disabilities. FCSN currently serves over 1,500 families and more than 500 individuals with special needs on a daily basis. Anna has devoted her life and career to creating programs and connecting families with support, care, and resources needed to live healthy and happy lives. She is a champion for the health and equity for people with disabilities. In March of 2023, Women's History Month, Anna was inducted into the Alameda County Women's Hall of Fame for her achievements and contribution in community services. In June of 23, she also received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Developmental Disability Council.
Thank you, Dana. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, the pleasure is mutual, Anna. We're looking forward to this. The format, as Sadia mentioned, is Q&A, and I'll ask Anna some questions, and then there'll be time at the end for questions that come from the audience. Anna, let me get started.
Okay, that's good.
Let me get started with what inspired the founding of Friends of Children with Special Needs.
First and foremost, I'm a parent myself. My son was diagnosed with severe autism when he was 3 years old. And like all other parents with children with special needs, we always worry about what is going to happen to our children when we are no longer able to take care of them or if we pass away. So me and 9 other families got together and said, we have to build a system of support, a village to support our children with special needs lifelong. So we start developing children's program. As our children grow, we start developing after school program when they're school age, and then when they are heading into adulthood, we start developing adult programs. So I would say we have program at FCSN that serve people with developmental disabilities from birth to tomb. So it's a lifelong service system that we are trying to establish at FCSN. But first and foremost, because I myself is a parent, I think supporting the parent is most important, supporting the families. So that's our flagship program, is family support program. I think because the families spend the most time with the children. If we just say we want the best service and things for the children and not serve the family and find out what the family really needs, if the family collapse, nobody can provide enough service for our individuals. So we always have that as one of our important programs is family support.
So what does family support look like? What sort of services do you offer to families?
So first we outreach to families so they know that it's not the end of the world when your son or daughter is diagnosed with a developmental disability, because we are lucky to be in California because we have the Lanterman Act, which is a law that requires the state government to help us families and the individuals with special needs so that their lifelong needs are met. And for people who are not native Californians, for example, I work a lot with the Asian community. It's not apparent that the government is going to take care of the individual's special needs lifelong. So there's a lot of education that have to take place for the parent, for them to know what they are entitled to have and what kind of generic services and what kind of government service they are entitled to have. So we let them know, and of course, throughout the family support, we share joy and tears with each other, because when we first find out our child will have special needs, it was a traumatic experience for me, my family. Even though my husband is a medical doctor, we don't know what to do. We have to learn from other families and also specialists about how we can best help our child with special needs. And as we go on the learning process, then as they age, they need different things, and we need to learn how to help them get the things that they need to support their life and to meet their needs. So that's how all our kind of comprehensive service and programs get developed. As we have a group of parents trying to learn how to build a support system for our special needs loved ones so that they are supported lifelong. Yeah.
Well, certainly as a parent of a special needs guy myself, I understand the whole birth to death part of it. And, parents always want to make sure that their loved ones are going to be in a good place when they're gone. How have these services to parents, how do they change over time, as parents go down this journey?
I think especially for Asian families, they were culturally brought up to be self-reliant, meaning they are really quiet about what is challenging in their life. They're very quiet about what they really need. They think they themselves have to generate everything for their family. So it's a real education process to let them know that you don't have to face this challenge yourself alone, that the state government have service that can help. And at FCSN, we have groups of families that have experienced different, as their children age, they have different experience. They can share with newly diagnosed children's parents, so that they feel that there's some mentorship going on, and that so they are not so afraid and feel the helplessness and the hopelessness. I think that's the most important thing, is to also make the parents feel that there's a community that is supporting them.
Great. Can you describe the Asian Family Empowerment Project?
So the Asian empowerment process is, I mentioned before that Asian families are brought up to be self-reliant. So the Asian empowerment process is, we are trying to empower the parents to be advocates for their children's rights, benefits, and services. That's the empowerment part, because if you feel like that it's not hopeless, because you are not supposed to be quiet in order to really get some major service and help and benefit for your children, so that they can live a better life and have a better future while we are gone. We have to learn advocacy. We have to learn, how to advocate for equity and access to service for our special needs loved ones and our families. So that's the project that we are happily heading, so that we are helping families that feel they're alone and have which will actually eventually affect their mental health as well. We want to prevent that very much. Yeah.
So it sounds like you educate and encourage them, empower them, if you will, to
Yeah, and
be
know how to
advocates.
advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think as a parent today that I realized that the important role that advocacy plays, not just for me, but for others like me. And not everyone is as able or as prepared to take on that advocacy role, but it's so important. Can you share some success stories or examples of how families have benefited from FCSN's programs and services?
I would say from the family support and empowerment program, we were able to, just like many families apply for regional center service, when they get any kind of denial, they just go home and says, okay, that's life, and that's, but we were able to successfully help, hundreds of in the families to get regional center service or generic service, or also empower some of the families when the children were still school age, to be effectively how to write an IEP that would actually address some of the deficits the children, and help them as much as possible to prepare them to face the world during adulthood. And many of them have landed job or have gone through some kind of a college program. So I think those are very heartwarming stories. I think many in the community are starting to see the abilities of individuals with special needs. So even though slowly, but people with developmental disabilities are getting employment, which is very important to them, for their self-esteem, that they are contributing citizens in society. Some of them I think including Dana yourself have seen some of the musicians that were trained and empowered and become actually professional musicians. So we were very happy that a lot of times, I would just say, even for those very talented individuals, at first the family didn't, knowing that their children have developmental disability, didn't think that their children can do it. Actually, they were not daring enough to let their children try because they were so afraid that their children will be failures and hurt their self-esteem even more than before. And so, and we have been able to prove the families wrong for looking, hopeless when they see their child have developmental disability. I think that changing that mindset, I think is a huge success story. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I remember when you invited me to come to one of your parent meetings and talk about, different models of specifically what LSA does. And I still have that plaque you gave me, thanking me for that in my office. So I gaze on it frequently. Can you talk a little bit about how you promote inclusivity and community engagement within this developmentally disabled community?
Actually, inclusivity and community engagement is in our mission statement. The FCSN mission statement is to help individuals with special needs and their families find love, hope, respect, and support through integrated community involvement. So that is front and center in our mission statement. The reason is if we keep on hiding our children, then first of all, they won't have any kind of future because all they're thinking that if they're in the community, they only face rejection instead of people embracing them for who they are and looking and applauding them for overcoming some challenges that they have. So that's why we started the Special Needs Talent Showcase every year. And it has grown bigger and bigger and bigger. And starting from the very beginning, we always, the July 4th parade, the Lunar New Year parade, we always encourage other families to be part of that. Be proud of bringing your children out in the community so that children have a chance to meet the community and the community have a chance to embrace our wonderful special needs loved ones.
Well,
So
I'm sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that is very important. Yeah, otherwise they will have no future. And that's why we think community integration and involvement is so important. And every year we train about 300 to 400 high school volunteers about how to work with individuals with special needs. That's integration and inclusivity in itself, because those are regular developing peers for our special needs loved ones who are in school. And a lot of the volunteers love being with special needs individuals so much that they when they go to college, they go into special education or speech and language pathology, OT, PT, those things that actually can help individuals with special needs. I think that is the most rewarding success stories I love to run into. Yeah, and we have seen so many. And some of the volunteers even establish special needs volunteering clubs at their college. So that's really, I think that those are things that we want to see, that our kids, our next generation are more embracing of our kids and loving our kids when they are ready to go into the community to work or to have a social life, that the high school volunteers that we train become kinder and more loving adults in the community. I would say, that changed a lot since I was growing up. I remember there was no opportunity to meet anybody with special needs, but now we do. That is so important for our next generation, not only for our special needs loved ones, but for the regular developing peers to have exposure early on to be close to a special needs individual.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about your day program, because, that certainly reaches a lot of people and must be a platform, to engage the community and be involved in the community.
We in our adult day program, employment and volunteering in the community is a big, huge part of the program. So, for example, in our center in San Jose, and the center is very close to the city of Campbell too. There, some of our adult day program students receive many awards from the city of Campbell for being volunteering to be at the park services to help clean up the parks and things like that. So as they learn the skills to clean up the park, they also contribute to the community, and they feel so good when the city of Campbell and city of San Jose give them awards for the volunteer work that they do. And of course, volunteer work is also a step to job training, where later on they can find actual employment in the after they have volunteered and be good, very good at what they do. We also train, there's a lot of different work training programs at the FCSN South Bay Center in San Jose on Bascom Avenue. We have a coffee shop where we train individuals to make coffee and also serve the community coffee and baked goods and things like that. So they have community interaction because with the customers coming into the coffee shop. So after we have a couple of the adult day program students that we trained actually got hired by Panera Bread and other bakeries to do the work that they have learned in our coffee shop. So those are great success story, which is we promote all the time. And also some of the adult day program students, individuals have different talents as well. And we try to help them develop that as much as possible. And we are going to have an art exhibition coming up in August that just feature all the artists in our adult day program and our different programs. Yeah.
Anna, can you maybe share what recommendations you have for maybe other culturally self-reliant communities, because you've certainly very successfully engaged your community and your culture.
I think one thing I certainly did in our program is I can only maybe share some experience for the service provider that speak a who are bicultural and bilingual. I think a lot of ethnic minority populate community are underserved by the regional center and the school system. I think, we were able to apply for funding from DDS, the State Department of Developmental Services, to help with the equity and access to regional center service for all ethnic minority groups. So I think if there's a service provider out there that offers bilingual, bicultural services to an ethnic minority group, then look into applying for grants and funding to develop capacity for this ethnic minority population. But one of the things that I emphasize so much is that our minority communities need a lot of hand-holding. So that definitely if there's a family support program like our family empowerment program that helps our ethnic minority group navigate this benefit and service system, that would be so helpful for the
Yeah.
for our group, yeah, for this population, yeah.
Hey, Anna, we seem to have lost you in the window.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's
I'm-
much better. Your screen was kind of like tilting back or something. So much better this way.
Okay, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm so sorry that I was not minding the screen as much as I should to make sure I'm seen in the frame of the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've talked about, a lot. Are there something that, I might have missed or didn't ask a question about that you think is really important in this area? Community engagement, advocacy, that you might want to share with the audience?
It is a process because each of the ethnic minority groups are brought up in their culture ever since they were young. It's very hard to change your mindset, but definitely you can do it. FCSN being in existence for 28 years, that's what we work on at the most, is to change the mindset so the community, the Asian community, can be proud of their children and be out in the community with the children, and also advocate, knowing that their rights needs to be heard instead of just hiding themselves. Or if they get a denial from the regional center or from the school district, they just say, we'll just live, that's how life is, we'll just have to live with that. We are trying to change the mindset. That's not right. We have the right to speak up when we don't get the things that we need for our special needs loved ones. I think it's the most empowering thing is I keep telling the parents, you're not fighting for yourself, you're fighting for your children, because your children are vulnerable. They don't have a voice. If you don't speak up for them, they are going to have a bad life. I think that kind of woke up a lot of the parents.
Yes,
Because
yes.
because
Okay.
our children have no voice of their own. If we shut up and keep quiet and be silent, then they will have no life. Yeah. And we certainly as a parent, we don't want that to happen. Yeah. So even it's not in my personal character development to be always be the squeaky wheel, I now become the squeaky wheel because for my children's sake.
Yeah, well, I mean, you certainly, proven that how powerful that advocacy can be and what a difference you and the other founders, have made in so many lives. Um, Kudos to you for all of your work, Anna.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. You too, Dana. I admire all your work. It's very tough. I know that.
so I think we're gonna hand it back over to Adia and
Yeah.
we'll get some questions from the audience and, we'll continue this discussion.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
much.
Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, and thank you, Dana. Again, interesting conversation. It's been a while since we've had a conversation around cultural inclusivity and support within cultures for the IDD community. It was actually, I think, about 3 years ago where we invited a DEI specialist, who's now, I believe, a director at Housing Choices, Kalisha Webster. We invited her to come and talk about within this community at a systemic level on IDD's topics and trends. Anna, you brought up a few really good points. As we were just listening to you talk about the work that you've done for the last, did you say 28 years?
Yes, yes.
My God, I know there's some people working for me right now that aren't that old. That they barely they wouldn't be able to tell you what was going on 28 years ago because they weren't here. But that being said, right now there's been a huge shift in our global culture on trying to be more inclusive. How can this community help support friends with children with special needs, both for advocacy? I know you said you had an art show coming up, but then also at a state and systemic level.
I think, I always bring up the statistic. When we have an unemployment rate of like 6-7%, we scream bloody murder that, hey, unemployment is really too high, and get the politicians to do something about it. But to be quite honest, we only total have 6-7% people with developmental disability employed. So the unemployment rate is 93-94% among people with developmental disability. And how is that going to be fair? I mean, I always give our individuals with special needs a chance, and they will prove that they could be the best worker or best employee you will ever hire. So I think the community has to realize that don't label them as people with disability, meaning that people with no ability. That is farthest from the truth, that people with developmental disability have many unexplored abilities waiting to be found. And they could be very, very dedicated workers. I was just saying, you hire somebody right out of high school, maybe they will spend all day long on their cell phone rather than do work for you.
Sure.
But people with developmental disability, you hire them, you show them that they do good work, they will get a paycheck at the end. A lot of our students, when the first paycheck they received, they framed it instead of spending it. So as
Wow.
more if we can spread that kind of message to the rest of the community, that is so important for our special needs loved ones.
Wow. And we're just getting you out of frame again, but I heard you loud and clear. And we're on it. I think that message in and of itself is powerful. I know there's a question or two that's come up both in the chat and also in our Q&A feature. There's a few of you in the audience tonight. If you have your questions, while I'm asking Anna these last few questions, please do get your questions ready. We're getting ready to answer your questions live and on air. But that being said, Anna, what do you think is next for the next 28 years? What are you hoping will be around for friends, children with special needs?
We are here to create as much opportunities for our individuals that is long overdue. So, you know, in terms of employment, in terms of housing, in terms of all the things that will bring a good future for them, that's what we were gonna work on for the next 28 years until they can have equal access and treatment from the rest of the community. We'll continue to work on those opportunities and exposure that they need in order, and efficacy that they need to get that kind of equal equity and access to service, to benefits, and to treatment, and to employment. So,
Anna,
and to housing.
Say it again.
And to housing as well.
Housing. It only makes me sad that you're not running for president, Anna, because I need all those things for mine. I'm not saying of any of your affiliation, but it's such a strong message, and also it's a direction, right? If we're not done until this is done. And so I really like that. Dana, I'm going to ask you the same question. You've been at LSA for 16 years, and LSA has been around for, is this his 22nd year? What's next for the next 22 years at LSA?
Well, I think like Anna, this work is not done by any means. So I see us continuing to be advocates, to be a resource for the families, out there in the community. I see us continuing to expand our programs because the need continues to grow. And, that's likely to take the form of additional homes. Also expand that, our day program, which is community oriented. So I think there's more work to do, and I think the organization that Anna's built and the one that we've built, has the chops and the bandwidth, to do that.
Let me take a moment, because I know it's already been said in the chat, but I want to make sure that it's recorded for posterity reasons and for the transcripts. Both of you have set a foundation for the generation that's coming behind you. And whenever it is the time that you do pass on the baton, I'm hoping that whoever's looking, whoever's going to come by and read what you just said, read the transcript of what you both just said, gets the message loud and clear that the work isn't done, but also that they hear me say, thank you on we who are about to take the baton. Thank you for laying the foundation and the groundwork, and we'll make sure not to drop it. That being said, I think there are some very specifics that I know both of you would, if you had another 22 years, if you had another 28 years and you were starting over again, what are some key focus areas that you would start today, right now, based on what the work has been done? And I know you've talked about what needs to be done in the future. Just if you could bullet point maybe one or two things that you would start with if you had another 28 or another 22 years.
Actually, I encourage all the the head of the service providing agencies to train more people to do the work that they do. Yeah, because just like Dana was saying, the demands are so high that existing service cannot meet everybody's need because it's a growing population and the needs are so high. So we also need to train enough service providers to provide service, right? And have the right attitude, have the right direction. So I feel like both me and Dana have the responsibility to train more people to do the work that we do. So that, yeah, so that is very important. You know, I want to share a little personal thing is I had a stroke a month ago, and all of a sudden it's a wake-up call. The wake-up call is, I know, first of all, when I had the stroke, I cannot take care of my own child. If you cannot find a system that basically can take care of your child when you're gone, and that is, you're worried about that. At the same time, I established the system of FCSN. If I am gone and FCSN collapse, that would be a huge, is even a bigger sadness because it's already an established system. And if it really only rely on me, that means I have not done a good job. We need to have.
Go ahead, continue. That was powerful. Please continue.
That's why I said all the head of the great agencies need to train up enough people to continue the work that they do and establish more agencies to do that kind of work. Because just like Dana was saying, demands are high. It keeps growing, and the existing resources will not be able to serve so many people. So not only do we have to just make sure that our kids, our special needs loved ones are taken care of lifelong, we have to if we have the extra bandwidth, we should have to make sure that all the other special needs individuals who belong to other families are taken care of as well. And that is to train more people to do the kind of work that we do. Yeah.
Dana?
Well, I guess I'd answer that in two ways. So what I would like to say is my legacy is having, left an organization that, is very good at what it does, has a, great management team, is capable of doing bigger things going forward. My regret, I guess, if I had to start it over again, I'd figure out a way to replicate it, grow it in a much greater fashion. And I guess replicate, because people often say, Dana, I mean, you guys have a great model and you do it really well. Well, there's such a need. Maybe being more aggressive in terms of replicating it would be one thing.
Wow. You don't know until you ask. That's and I appreciate both of you being very candid, including you, Anna, and talking about your own personal experience. And Dana, you kind of opening up your coat and showing us actually what's in your heart. There's a lot of curiosity, especially within the IDD community, on what's going to happen to our services with the DSP shortages and with the need increasing and capacity being so small. And so those are some very powerful statements that both of you made, I think is going to stick with me much longer than this evening, for sure. And there's a question in the audience, and I'm assuming it's for you because it references Asian and blended Asian families, and it asks, does your organization only take individuals who are Asian or blended Asian families?
No, actually, we have about 40% that are non-Asian in our programs. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Say that number again for everyone. What's
We
the
have
number?
40% of individuals that we serve that are non-Asians.
Okay. And that is and where are those locations? From the East Bay to South Bay, or where?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all our programs serve on the average 60% Asian and 40% non-Asians. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like, again, inclusivity and inclusivity and equity is practiced even at that level. I think there's another concept that I'm curious about, and you talked about housing, Anna, being something that that we need to advocate for. We talked about this for the last several months in different webinars. There's multiple types of housing, and at LSA, I know we believe that not all housing fits everyone. There's
Right,
not one
absolutely.
size fits all. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that? You've mentioned it a few times throughout the webinar. Your views on, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I totally agree. Not all housing models fit everyone, and the thing with the Asian community I want to bring out is they hardly ever use any regional center housing services, or like supported living service. They never use, and some of them even never refuse to use any group home services. They just keep their special needs loved one at home, which is not ideal. If you think about, if we all gonna get sick and pass away, and our kids are still living at home, have never had any experience living outside of the home, that is not ideal at all. So I always advocate for our Asian families to look further what you're gonna do when you're gone, instead of just thinking about just keeping the special needs loved one at home. So that is an education in itself. So nowadays, SB9 open up some more opportunities as to using your own house and your property to build ADUs and junior ADUs and that kind of thing. So we encourage some of the families to look into that as an option, rather than just keeping them in the same building as the parents. Maybe, build an ADU or a junior ADU, so that your children is close enough, but not completely live outside of the home, that you need, send them to a group home, which they're not comfortable about. So we are like slowly, step by step, trying to detach the parents from the special needs loved one, so they can get used to that, and also for the special needs loved ones to also hopefully one day be able to live in the community with other members, that kind of thing. So that's what we are working on as well. Yeah.
Step by step, it's hard to let go. Dana, you've fostered quite a bit of a culture and community of its own at LSA. Can you talk a little bit about that diversity within our culture and how it benefits families that are making this transition from all different types of walks of life?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've always, embraced diversity. I always see such value in it. And and it's so natural, if you're trying to create a culture, which I've tried to create a culture within LSA. It's not ethnic, right? But it has values. And some of those values, are simple respect for others, the active inclusion, being part of something that's, you know, that's big, that's great, getting value from, growing, whether it's residents growing or whether it's, us as an organization making mistakes and learning. And hopefully that's sort of the legacy that you pass on, is that your culture embraces all of those values. And of course, for me, I've learned so much. I often tell the story of, holding our International Day parties and everybody dressing in their, culturally preferred garments and sitting down to having an Ethiopian tea service. I mean, those are just things those are invaluable. And you certainly could never learn those sort of lessons by, isolating yourself. So yeah, I'm proud to say that, that we've created a culture that, I wish was more prevalent in the country and in the world.
Absolutely. I remember coming to LSA and trying my best not to be different, but I didn't know what to map to, because at LSA, different is good. And so the more different you are, the better. And that goes literally across the board of directors, the management team, the staff, and then those who we serve. Anna, it's been a pleasure having you tonight. I am, yeah, I am.
It's a pleasure to share what I'm passionate about with everyone. Yes.
Absolutely. And
Thanks for
like-minded,
having me. Thanks
absolutely.
for having me.
And like-minded, passionate people on the call with you tonight. I think one thing that I'd like to do before we go is I'd like to take a moment to share with you a few things. If you're on this call and you say, I just want to have a private conversation with Anna or Dana or anybody on this call, I'd like to encourage you to reach out to Anna. Her email address is here. I asked for permission before we're sharing it. She'd love to hear from you. I'm also gonna have my team place it in the chat. We're excited to be friends with friends of children with special needs and to extend our community. And for that reason, we've extended this IDD topics and trends to you. It's about your communication and you being able to advocate for our community as a whole. That includes the IDD population. But she's made some very, very clear, strong call to actions tonight. And if you'd like to support her or you'd like to figure out another way that you can get involved, this is an opportunity. This is the space. And here's her information. In addition to that, we have another talk that's coming up just next week. And that's with Jim White. He's the founder of Branch Services in Willow Commons. And now look, there's going to be a change in time. Normally we meet 6 o'clock every Tuesday in July. And next week, it's going to be a special time at 4 o'clock in July. That's the 23rd of July. And we're going to be meeting with Jim White. He's going to be talking about a blueprint for change, Willow Commons, and the future of IDD housing. You guys don't want to miss this. It's going to be a great talk, and it's going to be an interesting talk. Normally, these conversations, they happen at our board meetings as board educations. And so we are opening up these conversations to the community at large when normally you have to have a board seat to hear it. So it's 4 p.m. That's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next week. And the link and all this information that I'm mentioning is at lsahomes.org. Feel free to go onto the website, register to let us know you're coming, and you'll be able to get a link as soon as you do. But you'll want to hear more about what Jim White and his wife, who joined us for our parent panel, what they had to say and what they learned through this process for change in IDD housing. That said, we're excited you joined us tonight. And if you want to see us in person, we're also going to have a race in September, and it's going to be at Vasona County Park. And if you'd like to join us for that, you can run, walk, stroll, sprint, or you could just support us through sponsorship or just coming out and cheering at the finish line. Please do scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. We also are going to put that in the chat and see, and I see my team has already done that. That's September 14th, and it starts at 9 a.m. Register and let us know that you're coming and support us for our 4th race and for 2024. This is our 4th year doing it. So excited to be doing that and hope to see you there. As always, you can continue the conversation with us on our social channels, and we'd love to hear from you. Please do feel free to reach out. That's our website. That's the email address you can reach us at. And again, we're thankful to have you tonight. Thank you again, Anna, for joining us. And we appreciate you. Dana, Anna, thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Anna.
Have a great night. Good night, everyone.